Hi, my name's Rick, and I hate streaming. So come with me as I discover and rediscover vinyl.
Cheap Thrills by Big Brother and the Holding Company.
Hi, I'm Rick, and today we're going to examine Big Brother and the Holding Company's album Cheap Thrills, and we're going to even find out a little bit about this symbol right here, which says approved by the Hells Angels, Frisco. Big Brother and the Holding Company was part of that psychedelic sound of the 60s. Out in the Haight-Ashbury district, you had the Jefferson Airplane, you had Quicksilver Messenger Service, and you had Big Brother and the Holding Company. They were a guitar-driven psychedelic rock band without a singer. And at some point, they decided they needed to get a singer. They picked up this singer named Janis Joplin. She came in from Texas, and she was dressed like a Texan. The band were hippies. So neither the band nor Janis Joplin were too impressed with each other. So the band began working together and decided that they could make a good sound together. At the same time, they became kind of the Hells Angels house band. They played benefits for the Angels, they played dances. The Hells Angels at the time were putting on a lot of dances where they would charge $1 and they would have several bands. It was quite the party scene. And as such, you can see they put their seal of approval on this album right in the corner. We'll talk a little bit more about the album cover in a little bit. So the band, with Janis Joplin, play the Monterey Pop Festival. This is the same festival where Jimi Hendrix blew away the world before Woodstock. This is also where the world first saw Janis Joplin. Her sweaty, screaming, soulful self became an international sensation. And suddenly there was a lot of interest for them. Columbia Records took notice of them and actually went ahead and bought their record contract from a small independent label and decided they were going to make them superstars. They put them in the studio, and that was a little hard. The band were hippies and had trouble with the formal creation of a record album. So the album was finally completed, and they needed a cover. So they actually ran into a guy named Crumb, was his last name. And this guy was kind of a pervy cartoonist. He actually was the guy behind Fritz the Cat. Anyhow, he agreed to do the album cover for them with one condition, that he be allowed to cop a feel of Janis Joplin. Well, Janis went along with it, and the guy came up with this cover. Now, this was actually supposed to be the back of the album cover, but ended up being on the front. And what's really interesting is the album was supposed to be called Sex, Dope, and Cheap Thrills. However, Columbia Records said, no way, we're shortening it to Cheap Thrills. So this album cover has actually become very iconic. And every now and then you'll see them framed going up on eBay for like $700 for just the album cover, which is crazy. I picked up my copy at the flea market and I think I paid $5 for it. It's a great record. So let's take a look at this album. Side 1 starts out with some awesome psych guitar in a song called Combination of the Two. This is the song that's reminiscent of the original Big Brother and the Holding Company. Just a lot of great guitar work, a lot of distortion, what was considered unbelievable back in 1967. The second song on the album is a very bluesy song called I Need a Man to Love. And just when you're starting to think Janis has reached her vocal tops, she falls into a song called Summertime, and she takes the Gershwin classic to a whole nother level. She just really belts it out, showing off her chops. And then side 1 closes with my favorite song on the album called A Piece of My Heart. This song was actually a cover of a song recorded by Aretha Franklin's sister, Irma. But this turned out to be one of the biggest songs ever for Big Brother and the Holding Company. And like I said, it is my favorite song on the album. Side 2 starts with a song called Turtle Blues. It's a very traditional blues song composed by Janis. The song contains a lot of piano, and well, I'm not a big fan of the piano. Traditionalists would probably love the song. The second song is called Oh Sweet Mary, and this is a weird song, but it does have a lot of that psych guitar, a lot of distortion. I really love that stuff. And then the last song on the album is called Ball and Chain. And it was actually written by a traditional blues woman called Big Mama Thornton. And she was actually the first person to record the song Hound Dog. This is my second favorite song on the album. It's actually recorded live at Winterland back in 1968. Winterland was this huge venue back in San Francisco, and I think it was owned by Bill Graham. Anyhow, this song shows off a lot of guitar work. It shows Janis just blasting out her pipes, just demonstrating the power this woman has in her voice. It's an amazing song, and like I said, it's my second favorite song on the album. Janis Joplin left Big Brother right after this album. She went solo, and she played Woodstock as a solo artist, where she was paid $7,500. Kind of as a comparison, Creedence Clearwater Revival received $10,000 for playing at Woodstock, The Who $6,250, Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young received $5,000, Carlos Santana received $750, Jimi Hendrix $18,000. Janis actually was the third highest artist behind Jimmy and Blood, Sweat and Tears. The first solo album that Janis cut after leaving Big Brother and the Holding Company was called I Got Them Old Cosmic Blues Again. Didn't do so great. A lot of critics really didn't like that record. Shortly after that record came out, Janis died of a heroin overdose in 1970 at the age of 27. Something about the age of 27, there's a whole bunch of stuff on the internet about how artists die at 27, like Jimi Hendrix and Jim Morrison from The Doors. The second album was called Pearl, and it came a few months after her death. That album was a huge hit. It had the song Me and Bobby McGee, written by Chris Christopherson. It also had the a cappella song called Mercedes Benz, which I think everybody knows that song. Anyhow, after Janis Joplin left the band, Big Brother and the Holding Company hung around. They did a couple albums, they did some shows, but they didn't do so good. They kind of disbanded. Now, last year, October of 2021, Big Brother and the Holding Company was playing a gig in Santa Cruz. And so they were playing at a hotel called the Dream Inn. And the hotel has all rooms facing the ocean. And also there's a giant pool at the ground level, which is probably 10 or 15 feet above beach level. So to see this show, you had to rent a room. The rooms were going for $750 to $1,000 to I think $1,200 per night for that show. So what we did is we went down on the beach and we were able to see the band. We could hear them great. We saw their backside quite a bit. The singer who replaced Janis Joplin actually turned around and sang to the folks on the beach and said, "Here's to the people on the beach." So instead of $750, we sat on the beach in the cold and we got to see Big Brother and the Holding Company. Now, I got to tell you, these guys are getting kind of old. Some of them needed assistance up to the stage. They came up on stage though, and they sounded terrible for the first 3 songs. And then after that, they got their groove back and they put on an excellent show. So we had a really good time watching them live. Now, what do I think about this album, the Cheap Thrills album? I think it's an awesome album, and I give it 2 thumbs up. It's one of those albums that you've got to hear and should be in your rock and roll collection. So that concludes my review of Cheap Thrills. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. And hit the notification button, and please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow it, and we need to get that algorithm to recognize new subscribers. So if you could do that, that would help me out a lot. I appreciate it.